Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the uncommon normal-type Pokemon Lickitung and its relatively rare evolution Lickilicky, the two collectively known as the Licking Pokémon. With physical forms that are as strange as they are tactile, the members of the Lickitung family are unique creatures that can more than put their massive tongues to good use to take out potential enemies. Lickitung possess stout pink bipedal bodies with a single white nail on each of their sturdy feet and a single white claw on each hand. Their rounded head featuring black beady eyes and a large mouth with a massive elongated tongue they use for a multitude of purposes. In addition, they are also noted for their large semi-coiled tails, beige ring markings on their knees, and a series of crescent-shaped beige markings upturned upwards along the breadth of their torso and lower belly area. Their evolved form, Lickilicky, also possesses a pink body, though with a more rounded body form and an uncurled tail, the tongue having grown much larger and more powerful in evolution. They also now sport a large wisp of hair on the top of their head, and have a jagged white marking of the upper chest like a bib, with a trio of yellow upturned crescent-shaped markings on their belly. Lickitung and Lickilicky both serve as unique examples of what can happen to an organism when one type of natural sense is utilized and overdeveloped at the expense of others. In their case, that type of sense is taste. Both of these creatures only have average hearing and sight, a relatively weak sense of smell, and an extremely weak sense of touch due to weak sensory nerves within their skin. Their tongues, on the other hand, are lined with massive sensory nerves throughout, and are capable of being wielded as precisely and delicately as a human's hand in nearly all day-to-day tasks, including feeding and battling. This partially explains why Lickitung and Lickilicky, along with Goodra and Xurkitree, are the only non-grass type Pokemon capable of utilizing the devastating Power Whip attack. Their brains are effectively hardwired to memorize objects based on their texture and taste, which only their tongues can analyze simultaneously, and have a difficult time retaining things observed visually or through sound. For trainers that prefer to remain dry at all times, this often proves to be the ultimate deal-breaker. In order to keep their tongues free of bacterial growth, Lickitung and Lickilicky continuously coat their tongues in thick antibacterial saliva that effectively combines the effects of hand sanitizer, alcohol, and glue, the latter most of which can even be made into, if boiled down properly, numbing and curing any wounds or infections while still allowing them to grab a hold of anything they desire with little chance of being pried away from their grasp. Unfortunately, their saliva is so potent that it is capable of creating an irritating and itchy rash on the skin of, and inducing temporary paralysis within, any life form that they lick if the contact area is not cleaned immediately, with this effect being more common among Lickilicky. The numbing effect tends to be more drastic against organisms with sensitive nerves, so Pokemon such as Slowpoke or Psyduck are usually unaffected by their licks. Moreover, while they are known to use their tongues to clean themselves, their saliva leaves a powerful stench behind that makes the actual cleanliness a bit questionable to some. At the moment, it is unknown from what type of environment these creatures originated from, nor is it understood why they would have never needed to develop such odd powers in the first place, leaving their existence at odds with the best researchers in the field, even if their biology does work well in feasting upon and swallowing whole the insectoids they commonly hunt. As far as their combat abilities are concerned, these strange animals seem to have very simplistic mindsets that can make them difficult to disorient or even enrapture sexually as a result of their limited cognitive abilities, thus possessing own tempo and oblivious as base abilities. Though rare specimens may radiate a unique energy field from around their tongues that can alter their environment in ways that are still poorly understood, resulting in them gaining access to Cloud 9 as a hidden ability. As far as the stats are concerned in the case of Lickilicky, while they might not entirely excel in any one stat or even be amongst the most powerful beasts, they can still perform well in battle with most of their attributes, with only their base attack and speed stats being below average for a fully evolved normal type Pokemon, so they can certainly make an impact in a fight when push comes to shove. The tongues of Lickitung extend to about 6.5 feet in length, far exceeding the natural height of their possessors. Although they generally do not like to battle, Lickitung can generally hold their ground against most defenders with little trouble, because the risk of paralysis they pose is usually enough to deter most opponents. Aside from that though, Lickitung meat is actually poisonous to most creatures, making them unappetizing to all but the most determined of hunters. Lickitung are usually not very self-conscious about their appearance, and will often let thick layers of grime build up in their fur before cleaning it, but they will employ their massive tongues to clean themselves during mating season. It is interesting to note that Lickitung are put off by sour tastes, a trait that is not apparent in Lickilicky. This is most likely because Lickilicky possess more potent saliva, and thus are less sensitive to the overall strength of specific tastes. Although Lickilicky have sturdy enough body structures to hold their tongues in place effectively, Lickitung are not as well developed internally, and instead have their tongues anchored to a very peculiar place, the inside of their tails. This is because Lickitung are not anatomically structured efficiently enough to utilize their massive tongues as humans do their own, relying not on their throat and hyoid bone, but the strong joint connecting their tails to the posteriors for anchorage. As such, it is not unusual to see a Lickitung's tail quiver and contract whenever it unrolls and extends its tongue. Lickilicky is a unique mutation of Lickitung that is brought on by the ability to utilize the rollout attack. While seemingly simple to learn, Lickitung must possess extremely sturdy frames before being able to properly utilize the attack, as the master tongue will simply roll out and interrupt their attack if their internal muscles are not strong enough to hold it in place. Once fully learned and utilized, Lickitung undergoes sudden mutation, believed to be caused by a genetic defect, and become Lickilicky within a matter of moments. The fact that Lickitung can go their entire lives without mastering this move, however, has proven to be a difficult question to fully address, and has only added to the relative mystery surrounding their origins and purpose in the wild. Unlike Lickitung, which have their tongues anchored in their tails, Lickilicky tongues are anchored within their throats and hyoid bone by massive strands of connective tissue, and can be extended and contracted freely. This is impressive when one considers the fact that Lickilicky tongues generally range between 10 to 12 feet in length, far outdoing their pre-evolved form, with global contests over the length of it producing structures as much as 82 feet long, though how they're able to stretch to such lengths is still uncertain. Lickilicky's saliva is also more concentrated than that of Lickitung, numbing their own sense of taste to the point where they no longer dislike sour tastes. More importantly though, the increased concentration allows Lickilicky to effectively dissolve anything with their saliva, provided that they continue to coat said objects continuously. Lickilicky have a tremendous advantage over Lickitung in that they can actually store massive quantities of saliva, in addition to their entire tongues, within their cheeks with little difficulty. This is only possible though because the cheeks actually extend past their faces and in fact take up a large portion of their internal volume. Thankfully for these creatures, their tongues can further serve as a deft substitute to their stubby limbs and grant some dexterity equal to that of a human hand, deftly picking up even small beans with little trouble. It is also duly noted that, by keeping their tongues inside their bodies, Lickilicky can actually rotate their bodies fast enough to utilize the potent gyro ball attack which, considering the low base speed stat, can often prove to be devastating against unarmored opponents. Finally, it should be noted that Lickilicky are unique for being one of only 2 normal type Pokemon capable of learning the devastating explosion attack, even though it must be taught with a TM, with the other being Silvally, something that can often prove to be a useful wildcard for trainers looking to go out with a bang.
Well, I think it probably goes without saying that these strange beasts are likely not to everyone's tastes, pun intended, but they can still prove to be a bit of a wild card in the right hands. Lickitung may not seem like they could ever be taken seriously with their massive tongues and weird bodies, but a good tongue lashing from them can leave hope of their studies of fighters paralyzed and asking for a timeout. Of course, that might be a bit hard if the same beast is then devouring any snacks they can find on your person, but that's what you get for underestimating their need to use their tongues for everything. And their evolved form Lickilicky more than double down on all this, with even bigger bodies, bigger tongues, and saliva that will eat right through prison bars if you can make them taste good somehow. Thankfully for all, they are gentle and calm beasts to encounter and can make for great friends if you really want to invest time with them, making them surprisingly great as babysitters. So long as the children under their care make sure to wash themselves all over after getting licked out of affection.
As much as their powers and forms might startle or confuse others, the members of the Lickitung family are entertaining beasts for as long as you can keep a safe distance between their tongues and your body when there's hunger on their mind. It's unlikely they would actually try to eat you per se, but the rough and gooey nature of their saliva will definitely require a cleanup of some sort afterwards. Just do yourself a favor though, and try to help them find other ways to show their affection. As while it may seem harmless at first, you'll be needing more than lotion if your skin starts to turn red and ceases to be effective as skin anymore in response. Thank you all for watching this video. It is a great pleasure to share with you all the fruits of my research and all the positives it gives to understanding the wonderful creatures we call Pokemon and how their powers and behaviors function in their world. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more work like it, please give a like, comment, and or subscribe to the channel so you can get regular notifications on when new content is being uploaded. You can also find links to my DeviantArt page, Patreon, and Discord server in the description below. Please, join me on this road to seeing what the world of Pokemon has to share with us, and the many mysteries and wonders that keep us all coming back for more.